present now?
Yep, you can hit present now and get your screen up.
Okay. And how do I change? Oh, like that. Can y'all see that? I'm trying to find the right. There we are. Can y'all see that screen? Sling Studio.
No,
not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, so let me come back.
So you have to hit the present now.
Yeah, I thought I did.
Whichever one you want, and then hit go, I think.
Okay.
Let me see.
Oh, share. I gotta hit share.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. And then just pull up a screen, or I've done this before, but I can't remember.
So you can do it a couple of ways. It says you're presenting. You've got your Chrome window. You can do it that way right there. That's fine.
So y'all can see Sling.
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. So this is the presentation I'm going to do. Is I've been using Sling now for a good maybe a year and a half, and I bought it originally for what they advertise it as, a sports production, because I did not like stringing cables all over the field and trying to keep up with 100-foot cables and trying to get kids to corral the cables and wind them up the right way and all this kind of stuff. So Sling is really good for what it was built for. However, there are some things that I have discovered, and we'll talk about those, the kind of negative things to Sling. But overall, if I have the money, I'll buy another one. It's just hands down for what I'm going to use it for. I don't get into broadcasting like Tom and some of y'all do, but for what I did, it was perfect. And you can see here that this has a lot of possibilities, a lot of ways to do this thing. So, and I have can y'all see the PowerPoint? No.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So, okay. So I'm going to talk mainly, it is a multi-camera production tool, but most people think of multicam as a news broadcast or sports. But what I actually did this past year was I actually did a multicam short film production with it. And it was wonderful. And I'll explain why in a few minutes. So just to go over what you get when you purchase it. Now, I copied this straight off of B&H's website today. This is what I purchased, the Sling Studio mobile production kit, and what it comes with, and it's not going to scroll over, but it comes with this little black box here. That's the camera link. That's what makes this wireless back to the hub, the big white box. The hub also has this little battery pack on it, so between this and the Sling and this little camera link, everything is wireless. And if you have an iPad, you don't have anything plugged in anywhere. You are a total mobile production studio at that point. The backpack just stores everything. So it's really easy to take and so I would definitely recommend buying an iPad and not trying to do it. I mean, you can do it on a laptop, and laptops have batteries, so but I really like the iPad for the versatility of it. And the kids liked it too. Now, this is important because this is your, you can plug in like external hard drives, because if you don't have an external drive, or it does take SD cards that you can plug in. Right here's SD card slot. If you don't have something to record to, it's going to record to your media or the device that you're producing the thing on. So if you don't want to fill up your laptop, or you don't want to fill up your iPad, then I would definitely recommend the SD card, pretty big one, or some type of external hard drive that's always plugged in when you're doing this. So I didn't think about this until last Camp T and I, when Bill Phelps said, "Hey, why did you buy so many camera links?" Because I'm thinking one camera link lasts about an hour and a half. Football games longer than that, so I'm gonna buy 2 camera links per camera and run 4 cameras. Well, I didn't even think about it, but Bill told me, "Hey, just buy this little Anchor PowerCore portable charger. This is the one we can't order from Amazon, or never figured out how. So I bought this from B&H, and it will power that little USB or that little camera link through a USB power port for hours, and you don't ever have to worry about it going dead. And I just bought some Velcro from Walmart and Velcroed the thing to the camera link, and then recharge them for the next one. And so that's how I keep camera links charged. So actually now I have 4 extra camera links, or did have since I'm moving school. Somebody will have them. So I don't have the Sling Studio, and I can't set it up because in order to see the interface live, you got to have the Sling Studio connected. But this is the interface, and there's 2 different interfaces here. So this is what it looks like. And again, this window here is the preview mode, and this is the live mode down here. This is what you're going to switch to. And then you have 4 cameras, and you can have as many as 10 devices connected to this thing. And they're just in standby. So you have to click the arrow down there, and then you can load them in. The nice thing about Sling Studio is you don't have to always use cameras. You can download apps for cell phones, for iPads, I saw a video where they were using iPod Touches with a camera. I think Richard Riles uses those to record with down in Hazelhurst. So a lot of different things. We connected phones to it. Matter of fact, the film production we did, I think we had 3 cameras, and then we had my phone connected to it just for some extra shots. And then it also has a built-in audio mixer. So you can bring in different sources from the cameras if the cameras are mic'd. Now, I will tell you, when we get to how to do this as a multicam production, and the reason I want to do this is they have apps that plug into Premiere Pro and Final Cut. You have to have an external mic connected to the Sling Studio box. It's got a little microphone input, because you want the main audio coming from that, because you can record Sling Studio. You can record each camera input separately and then have an overall recording, and you can record the multi-view. So you can have program recording each camera, and then you can also do the multi-view recording where what you're seeing is what you're looking at on the iPad. So you can see go back and watch. It's time you hit that multi-view recording, you can actually pull it up on the iPad after the scene's over and watch the multi-view recording and see how people come into the scene, see what needs to be redone, if you need to redo it, that kind of stuff, which makes it very powerful on scene, on set, because it's instant review. And we did use that. Some uses: sports, concerts, plays, news broadcasts, setting up a studio. But the best thing was for multicam production for film or TV show. And I think one of the standards is that students have to produce a multicam production. With Sling Studio, it's a done deal, because this is why. Someone just hopefully, can y'all see this video?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I got mine, so I don't see what's on what y'all are seeing. So
in this Sling Studio tutorial, we'll look at the exchange. Start by locating the project you recorded on the Sling Studio. Remember, the add-on does not move or copy the project files, making it a best practice to move the.
Can you hear it?
The audio is really low, John.
John, I think you muted you muted your mic.
Yep. That better?
Yep.
Okay. So what I was saying with the video is I'm just going to forward it to the point where you import it into Premiere Pro. Find it again. That's Final Cut. So this is got to be it. So when you import it into Premiere Pro,
For your project,
you're going to download an extension that does everything for you.
for best results. You can find the add-ons for Premiere under the Windows tab. Go down to Extensions and you'll find the Sling Studio extension. It will open in a new panel. It can be moved, docked, and undocked, like all panels. Click on the Browse button to select the Sling Studio project. A search window will open. Navigate to the project and open it. If you have changed any of the assets within the project, you may experience errors, so it's best not to disturb them. Once you have selected a project, you will have two options. You can import the project as is, or sync camera-recorded videos. The Sling Studio uses the audio channel to match your raw camera files with the Sling Studio files, so make sure that the camera recordings and the Sling Studio input recordings have identical audio. Use the plus icon on the right of each camera to find the folder containing the raw footage. You only need to select the folder the footage is in. The software will match the clips. If your raw footage is a different resolution than the Sling Studio project, such as 4K, you can select the sequence resolution you want to use. You will find several new folders in your project window that contain all your assets. A new sequence containing all...
Now, this is what's amazing about it, is once you do all that, and one thing that I found out is we had the microphones turned off on the cameras, and I didn't realize it. You have got to have those mics on because that's how it's going to sync everything together. But if you do it right, it will sync everything together for you. And then all you have to do, or all the students have to do, is go in there and edit the shots that they want. And you're not having to load multiple camera footage, not having to manually sync or trying to find where the clapper comes in, where the spike is, or anything like that. It just does it for you. And here you can see that. It's really super nice.
You recorded it. The assets on the timeline have been cut to match the switches that you made in the Sling Studio app. Some of the assets are enabled, while others are not enabled. This is in reference to which ones were in the program at that time. The easiest way to substitute the raw sources for any of the Sling Studio versions is to disable the visibility of the Sling Studio tracks that you wish to replace. This includes the program track and the Sling Studio input tracks. The graphics and lower thirds on the top track are compatible with everything up to 4K. You will need to manually add any dissolves or wipes you use in your transition, as those do not carry over.
So basically, it's just taking the program track as a final product, but it's also adding in all your raw footage in case you need to make changes or anything. And when I figured this out this past semester, what I figured out was, or what I finally realized, is that this was a very powerful tool, and I don't know how many of us were using it exactly like we needed to be doing for all of the standards, because instead of just doing news broadcast or just sports broadcasting, now we can do multicam broadcasting, have the kids do a short film. And the thing with the Sling Studio, when you're setting this up to record a multicam short film production, you run into problems. And I didn't really say anything to the students at first, but then they started noticing, hey, that camera's in the shot. Hey, why is the mic in the shot? What's that in the background? It really makes you think about set design and how you're going to plan the shots so that you're recording from all the cameras simultaneously and not getting any of them in the shot. Have any of you that have the Sling Studio or have looked at it used it to do other than to use it for like a TV sitcom or film? Anybody? It went pretty well. We didn't get to do the plug-in because I didn't record the audio correctly, but we redid it later on, and I did some practice with it, and I figured it all out. And it's all based on that audio. And if you do the audio right, and so it can sync that audio, man, it's a dream. It is a dream. And then they also have a plug-in for Final Cut as well. And it does the same
Remember,
thing.
the Studio Projects folder. It's a standalone app and doesn't need Final Cut Pro to function. The Browse button allows you to search your computer for your Sling Studio project into the application. The Import button converts the Sling Studio project into a Final Cut Pro project. The Sync Camera Recorded Videos button adds the raw footage recorded in camera to the edit. You can now open the project in Final Cut Pro or click Done to open it later. You'll need to add your project to the library you'll be working from. Recorded with the Sling Studio will be organized on layers. The top layer is the graphics, followed by the program, the three cameras, and the quad view. Your recorded sources will be cut up and enabled or disabled according to the switches you made during production.
So it's very similar to what's done with Premiere Pro, but it does have the app for Final Cut as well. Now, the one thing that I think the negatives to me for Sling Studio, number one, when you are doing sports broadcasting, crowded stadiums make a difference. I wasn't sure until I tried to use it this past year. And what I finally realized is that we just had to quit using the cameras on either end of the field because the signal was not strong enough once all the people got into the stadium to actually make a difference. Because I kept losing the signal. So mainly what we wound up doing is just running the top camera up in the press box and did an overlay of the scoreboard on top of the video. Just because Sling Studio, I didn't download any apps to do titles, scoreboards. I didn't do a clock. I just overlay, and you can minimize it some, not a whole. You can minimize it enough, and you just overlay the whole scoreboard onto the video that you're broadcasting out to everybody. It syncs well to YouTube. It works on every platform. So it's a really good system, and I think for the price, if you're really looking to go really on a tight budget, and you want multi-purpose use with a mobile studio that's really easy to move around, really easy to set up, and it's got good battery life, then hands down, I think Sling Studio is the way to go. And I'm not getting paid by Sling Studio, so I wish I was, but I'm not. It does have its limitations, and it does have some problems. There is a delay. And the further away you are from the hub, it seems like the more of a delay. And I have experienced sometimes a delay of upwards of probably 30 or 40 seconds. But the people at home don't know that. And I have had it freeze before. The good thing is when the software freezes on the iPad, it does not stop broadcasting. You can completely shut the app down, restart it, and it's still broadcasting to that channel. It's just the one camera view, but it's still broadcasting. So again, it really gets into set design here and lighting, because if you have lighting, you got to make sure everything's out of the camera view. You got to have, that field of view where it's just the scene. So it really makes students think. And I had 55-minute classes, and we were able to set up in the library and outside and get a scene recorded, or sometimes two scenes recorded, before we had to go back in. So the setup time is real easy. So any questions? I mean, I don't, it's not a very long presentation, but I don't really have, I mean, I can show you I do have a video that we made with it, final video, but they just put it together. It's just like syncing it manually.
I actually have a question. Our football head coach is basically trying to get play-by-play down to maybe an iPad. They were looking at an end zone camera system. How would this play into that? Would I be able to, I guess, just purchase another iPad or just have them watch the live feed and be able to, rewind, fast forward, or whatever? Or how would I go about doing that, or if it's even capable?
I don't know that it's good enough for them to watch live feed
Okay.
because of the delay.
Okay. Well, I mean, it would be after. I mean, so for instance, if offense went off the field, then they would come and watch that. So defense would be out there while they're watching. So the delay wouldn't be an issue. I just wanted to know if it's even capable of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you had the iPad down in the field, you could see it live.
Okay.
And it does have instant replay built into it, so you could actually go back and do instant replay.
Okay, perfect. That's my main question right there.
But it's not a inexpensive replacement for Huddle or whatever sideline.
Yeah, because we had Huddle too, and they just didn't want to pay for it anymore. So I'm gonna just have to tell them we got to go back and get that too.
Yeah, we can talk offline about some other options on that. But this won't replace that.
Okay.
Right. Somebody had another question. I thought maybe. Oh, do they have Huddle? Yes, you can broadcast, Jeremy. You can broadcast in a live setting without using editing software in post production. I hardly ever edited any of my live broadcasts. They were just live to YouTube, and once we finished, they just archived on YouTube. They're still there. I haven't taken them down. So yeah, we didn't record them either, but we did do the instant replay a couple of times just to see. So you do have to have recording enabled, and you have to be recording for instant replay. But sometimes I'd forget the SD card and just didn't do instant replay. But yeah, it has a lot of features that some of the bigger systems have, but it's kind of like it solves a problem, but you kind of do get what you pay for as far as broadcast capability, and it's HD quality depending on your cameras. It is a good solution, but if you're heavy into broadcasting and you're broadcasting a lot of stuff, Sling is probably not the best answer. Wouldn't you agree, Tom?
Sling is a good place to get started, I guess would be the best way to say,
right,
with a wireless setup. It's relatively inexpensive. You can do multicam, you can do instant replay, you can do graphics, you can do all of those things. But it's not going to be a replacement for a TriCaster. There's John, I think, put it right. And if it's $1,000 device, it's not going to replace a $10,000 device. But it's crazy simple to use, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. I used it a good bit to do a multicam switch, and I didn't broadcast through it. I broadcast through Play on Producer, so I could have the standard graphics and stuff. But again, it's super simple. You set it up, you hit record, and you go. And the Adobe plugin stuff's pretty cool. We did some stuff with a volleyball shoot that was just back and forth with 3 cameras, and it was nice to see it all match up like that.
And the other thing is you can also plug in a audio mixer into it. You don't have to use the built-in mixer that comes with Sling Studio. You can actually plug in an audio mixer and mic everybody if you wanted to. I used it, or my students and I, we worked with the Canton Police Department, and they did a monthly Facebook Live meeting. They called it their town hall meeting before all this stuff happened, and we closed everything. But we would go over, I'd take the Sling Studio over there, and I think we had 3 cameras, one on each person. And then if there was 3 people, we'd have 4 cameras, one for overview and then one on each person. And students would sit there and switch it. And I had each person mic'd, and we fed that into the mixer. and the mixer went into the Sling Studio, and it recognizes the line input. I think where the Sling Studio really pays off, at least for me teaching film, was in the multicam production of a film set, because you don't have the distances from, down on the sidelines, and you got, I don't know how many fans y'all have, but fans in the stands, and it's trying to go through all that concrete and all. You're on the same set. And as a multicam production, it gives you that monitor that the director needs to see while everything's lining up. And the best thing to me about this for multicam production for like film or TV, it's all mobile. It's all wireless. We're not running cables. We're not taping. We're not doing anything like that. We're just, getting stuff set up, make sure everything's out of the view of the cameras, and then the director takes over, and we record from multiple camera angles at the same time.
I will say one thing about what John said with the delay. The delay is not so if you're watching live, it depends on how many cameras you're doing in the distance too, but it's not in your end product. It's just when you're on site. So your director or tech director can't watch the action. They have to watch the whatever you're using to switch on. But it's all synced up in time.
And Russell, you asked about how long is a typical setup. What we would do is time the kids came into the class before the bell even rang to call roll, they would already be getting equipment out. They would have tripods. They would be mounting the camera links to the cameras. And the camera links plug into the cameras with a HD cable. And so what makes that really nice is I have some of those little Canon consumer camcorders that has the mini HD. I have mini HD cables to full HD, plug it into the Sling Studio, plug the mini HD into the Canon camcorder. And now I don't even have to, if I didn't want to break out the big cameras that I have, we can use that. Use cell phones. Cell phones can connect through an app. They have app for Android and Apple devices, iPads, iPods, anything that can get an app and you can download it, you can use that as a camera. However, for sports broadcasting, if you're in the gym, then the cell phones will work good. If you're not in the gym and you're on the football field, their range is about like 50 feet. So it's not going to be the best camera to feed back to the system. But it does give you more versatility. Well, like I say, we did a 4-camera setup, and we were recording within 10, 15 minutes of first period starting every day. So we got a good 30, 40 minutes on set before we had to head back to the classroom. And like Tom said, the delay, you'd never see the delay. And when you're recording for film, you're not even going to notice the delay because you're after the final product. And again, I can't stress enough how important it was to be able to go back and look at different camera views and the multi-view where you can see everybody at one time while we're on set with the director and saying, is this what you want? Is this the shots that you want? Do we need to make this tighter? How's the lighting look? Because sometimes I think, if you're like me and you don't have all the time to set up that monitor and everything, you're missing all that to teach them that. But the Sling helps a lot with that because you can just watch it from the iPad time you record it. So I will tell you this: if I have the money at Haynes Bridge, I don't know what I know he has the stuff, the Wirecast stuff. I can tell you this: I know it's not as good as the TriCaster, but it's way better than the Wirecast stuff to me. Sling Studio is, because again, it's portable and it's mobile, and I can go and do a production and use production from anywhere. We have a Halloween costume contest at Sequoia every year. Faculty members are first before school, and they line up on our grand staircase. We streamed it from the grand staircase. then broke everything down, went and set up in the gym and was ready to go by the time the student production got started, or the student contest got started. So, anybody have any other questions or comments? Yeah, it's really good for events indoors. Now, I know we can't broadcast our school plays, and I didn't get a chance to do this because my students just kind of, I don't know what the problem was at Sequoia. They just kind of didn't want to commit to stuff. But the high school musical, you can set cameras up around the auditorium and do a multicam production, and then record it that way and give to the, drama teacher as a multicam production. Yes, you can plug in. It does have an HDMI input, I think, but it also has an HDMI output, and that was important when I first bought it because it would not connect through our network because it needed and I don't understand all the network stuff. It needed a specific port to go through because of YouTube or whatever. And Sling was even the company was very rigid with that. But then they came out with the upgrade that fixed it. But until then, and Tom actually gave me this idea when he was talking about he ran Sling into a switcher and switched from there. I did the same thing. I ran the Sling Studio so I could have wireless cameras, and then switch it with the Wirecast stuff. So you can go HDMI out into something else, and that's really nice.
You can go. It's got one HDMI in part.
Right. So yeah, like if you were up in the press box, you want to run one camera and then do an overlay wirelessly, you could run that camera into the Sling. Now in our press box, I had multiple HDMI cables because I had one for the coaches system. I had my camera and where we're trying to live stream everything. So I just bought an HDMI switcher or HDMI, not a switcher. It didn't switch anything. It just basically let me go bring all the feeds in and go out to what I needed to. So, I guess a HDMI port. So, but yeah, it's for what it is. If you haven't seen one or seen it in action, I don't have mine anymore. I know Bill Phelps has one. I would get with some people that and just say, hey, can we set up a time or date once all this stuff's over that maybe sometime this summer that we could actually demonstrate the Sling Studio. And that was my plan at that was what I was going to do at Camp T&I this summer, was bring it with me, and we were going to set up a multicam production shoot, just a one scene, just so you can see how it worked. But unfortunately, life has a way of being cruel sometimes. Yeah, and Tom's right. Just start with one for football. And I decided that if I was going to live stream football this year, I was going to go with one camera from the press box and do the scoreboard overlay. And that way I'm not having to monitor kids down on the field, because that ran into problems last year. When I left the camera down there and went to the bathroom, wasn't watching it, got knocked over. I got yelled at by an administrator. So I was just going to run one from the press box. It's the best view anyway.
All right. Anybody else got anything for John?
I know this is kind of short and sweet, but again, without actually having the Sling Studio to demonstrate a bunch of stuff, it's kind of, but I still want to do the presentation because I do think this is a worthwhile device. And you don't have to buy the kit. You can buy the hub separately. You can buy the link separately. You can buy the battery pack separately. You can buy the backpack separately. But the kit gives you one camera link to get started with. And then just order the little USB power bank, and you don't ever have to worry about the camera link dying during a broadcast, because they truly will only last about an hour and a half to 2 hours. 2 hours is pushing it.
Well, all right. All right. Well, I guess if nobody has anything, then we'll call it a day. So,
Thanks, Tom.
John, thank you so much. Thank you guys for attending. And if you have any questions, reach out to John, myself, Bill Phelps. A bunch of us have the Sling, so we can answer any questions you might have later. So y'all have a great afternoon.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.